mutable, or immutable? How are lists used in Python? Hello, Saipals! I am Sir Raymond Zubieta, your science teacher for today. In this episode of Agham Alam Hub, we're going to discuss what lists are in Python. We will determine the proper syntax of writing a list. Finally, we will demonstrate selected methods and functions that can be used in creating a list. In the next few minutes, we will explore science for another moment. Remember, built-in data structures in Python are the fundamental constructs around which you build your programs. Each data structure provides a particular way of organizing data so it can be accessed efficiently, depending on your use case. There are different built-in data structures in Python, and one of these is the list. List is a data structure that holds an ordered collection of items. To understand more about lists, let's take a look at this example. Based from our example, the word numbers is referred to as the variable name. The values in the list are called elements or items. Each element of the list is separated by a comma. In our example, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 are the elements. Elements of the list are enclosed in square brackets so that the Python understands that you are specifying a list. These elements can be any or a combination of the data types such as strings, floats or integers, and booleans. Another important thing that we must know about a list is that we can add, remove, or search for items in the list. Since we can add and remove items, we say that lists are mutable. Let's now start writing some codes involving lists using REPL.it. REPL.it is a powerful yet simple online IDE, editor, compiler, and interpreter. It can code, compile, run, and host more than 50 programming languages, including Python. Let us code a list. Elements of a list are indexed with numerical representation that starts with 0, then 1, 2, 3, and so on. In our coded list, the index of Budin is 0. What is the index of Nilupak? Correct. The index of Nilupak is 2. You can think of a list as a relationship between indices and elements. This relationship is called mapping, which means each index maps to one of the elements. If you want to call a specific element in a list using an index, you can write this code. It printed Budin because Budin is at index 0. How about if you write this code? What will be its output? That's right, it printed Nilupak because nilupak is at index 2. After knowing how to access the elements in a list, let's demonstrate selected built-in methods that we can use to manipulate a list. We can add an element to a list using the append method. Remember, this changes the actual list and it does not create a copy of the list. For example, we created a variable Tayabas Bridges with values Puente de Princesa, Puente de Malagunlong, Puente de Hibanga, Puente de Mate. If we want to add another element in the list Tayabas Bridges, we will employ the append method. Notice that after running this code, the variable Tayabas Bridges is now updated and Puente de Ese is now part of the list. Take note that in append method, the element being added is placed at the end of the list. We can also add all items in a list to another list. We will use the extend method, which will add all the elements of another list to the end of the previous list. For example, we created a variable secondary schools with elements LPIHS, WPNHS, and RQMNHS. To extend this list, we will use this code. After running this code, the new list BANHS, BIS, SJBC is now added at the end of the list secondary schools. We can also insert elements into an existing list. This is done using the insert method. This method uses the index where we want to insert an element. For example, we created a new variable elementary schools with elements TECS, TWCS, and WES. We can insert the string WPES in between index 0 and index 1 in our given list. To do this, we will use this code. We use 1 to indicate the index or position where we will insert the new element, and WPES, which is the element that we want to add in the list. After running this code, WPES is now inserted between TECS and TWCS. In other words, we have inserted the string WPES into the index position 1, pushing TWCS and WES one index up within the list. We can remove an element from a list using the remove method. When we use this method, we will need to specify the particular element that is to be removed. Note that, if there are multiple occurrences of the item specified, then its first occurrence will be removed from the list. We can consider this method as removal by items value. If the particular item to be removed is not found, then a value error is raised. For example, we have variable colors with the elements red, orange, yellow, green, blue, orange, indigo, and violet. Let's try to remove an element which is not included in the list. To do this, we will use this code. Notice, an error appeared in the interface. This indicates that pink is not in the list. This time, let's try to remove orange in the list. To do this, we will use this code. Since orange appeared twice in the list, only the first occurrence was removed. Let us now remove another element in the list. As you can see, indigo has been removed from the list. But there is another way of removing an element from a list using the pop method. This removes an element from the list. However, it is different from the remove method in two ways. First, it takes an index, which is the index of the item to be removed from the list, rather than the item itself. Second, this method returns the element that was removed as its result. For example, we have a variable barangays with the elements Ipilan, Angeles, Wakas, and Ilasan. Let's try to remove the string Angeles in the list. To do this, we will use this code. Why did we use 1? Correct. Remember, when we use the pop method, we use the index or position of the item we want to remove instead of the exact name of the element. In our example, the string Angeles is at index 1. To check whether the element at index 1 has been removed, let's enter this code. Based on its output, Angeles is no longer part of the list. Lastly, the sort method. It can arrange the elements of the list in alphabetical, ascending, or descending order. For example, we have variable flowers with elements Sampaguita, Gumamela, Cattleya, Rosal, and Waling-Waling. To arrange these elements alphabetically, we can use this code. After running this code, it will give us the result of flowers arranged alphabetically: Cattleya, Gumamela, Rosal, Sampaguita, and Waling-Waling. This time, let's arrange the elements of a list in ascending and descending orders. Notice, the elements are now arranged in ascending order. This time, the elements are now arranged in descending order. There are also a number of built-in functions that can be used to quickly look through a list. We can use the length function to get the total length of the list. Take note, length pertains to the number of elements in a list. To do this, we will use this code to determine the number of elements in the variable years. In our example, the length is 5 because there are 5 elements in the list years. We can use the max function to return the highest element from the list. Using the same list, we will write this code. Based from our example, 2007 is the element with the highest value. Lastly, we can use the min function to return the lowest element from the list. Again, using the same list, we will write this code. Notice the output. 1578 is the element with the lowest value. In this episode of Agham Alam Hub, we have learned that lists are data structures that hold an ordered collection of items. We also learned the proper syntax of writing codes involving lists. In addition, we also demonstrated selected built-in methods and functions that we can use in manipulating lists. For list methods, we performed append, extend, insert, remove, pop, and sort methods. For list functions, we executed the len, min, and max functions. That's all for today, Disciples. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you again next week for another moment. Only here in Agham Alam Hub, Palagian's SciTech Portal. Bye!